Okay, you're on the air.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. As is our practice, we will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you will rise with me, if you don't have a flag, you can use this one right over here. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, Republic,
to the republic for which it
of
stands,
nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. This is also our practice in our regular board meetings. We remember those members of our community have passed since our last meeting. And unfortunately, there have been several since our last meeting. We've lost Suzanne Kent and Margaret Wexler, both of Kendall Way. Suzanne at the age of 97, and Marjorie at the age of 93. We also lost Kevin Kidd at the age of 66 from DePeister, and Jose Fernandez at 67 from Beekman Avenue. Henry Haas from Palmer Avenue at the age of 76. Marta Gerlach of Tappan Avenue at the age of 86. Albert Ridnour of Hudson Street at the age of 81. And Richard Carey at the age of 73. And Richard was most recently living in Pleasantville, but a longtime resident of Sleepy Hollow. So please have their family and their friends in your thoughts. Thank you. We're going to begin this evening with, I think, a really fascinating presentation from Margie Reddick, landscape design folks. But before we start, I just wanted to share some good news. Don't get to do that very often, but some really fantastic news, and that's that Art Westchester has selected the Village of Sleepy Hollow and the Wishing Wall for its 2021 Community Award. It'll be presented at a virtual celebration on Wednesday, April 7th, so just in a couple of months. So congratulations are obviously in order to Kirsten and Harry's, Deanna Loha, Lynn Brady and Ann White up at Kendall, and Aaron Carney for making this all happen. You guys did it from the idea, inception, all the way through implementation. So I'm so happy for all of you with this award. That's pretty cool. I also have to thank John Stein and Peter Chafkin, Craig Tompkins and Edge on Hudson for their support, for allowing this to happen on their property. Thanks, guys. And of course, Janet Langsam and the board of directors at Art Westchester, thank you for honoring us and all of our folks in this way, because this really means a lot to us. I hope everybody in Sleepy Hollow will make the visit to the virtual award ceremony on April 7th. And I also hope those of you who haven't made it down to the Wishing Wall will do so sometime when the weather is not quite so brutal. But look forward to seeing you all down there. So again, congratulations to all of you who put this together, and thank you for doing this again. We really have enjoyed it. And we look forward to what you're going to come up with next. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Margie Reddick and Brett Schneiderman from one of her folks. And they're going to share with us designs for our DeVries Park project. So thank you, welcome folks, and take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to say a few very brief words about the project overall. Thank you so much for actually having us work on this project. It's an incredible kind of secret gem, the Cantico River, and the mandate was really to return the river to the village of Sleepy Hollow and people from beyond. I think you all have maybe noticed in the last year or however long since COVID really started that people are outdoors so much more, and we see a lot more people actually traveling up here or down here um, to really enjoy the waterfront parks that you already have established. And this is just adding a whole other um, aspect to the riverfront network. So Brett, if you can go to the next slide, when we started to look at the Picantico River, which was basically like a backwater because it had been diverted, for the GM plant. What has grown up there is this amazing kind of microclimate habitat. You have, because it's so much more sheltered than the Hudson River and it's one of the tributaries, it has just a whole richness of wildlife and a much more sheltered kind of situation than the open Hudson River. So these are just some of the images of the river if you are on the river, but when you are around the river, because of the invasives and the way things have not been kind of maintained to allow you to get down, you really can't appreciate it. So our mandate in this project was to actually create these openings and ways for you to actually get down to the river and it really for the river really to be reclaimed and become part of the village's life. So Brett's going to walk through uh, the design, but I think the overall idea is to not only um, open it up, but also to create this whole necklace of waterfront open spaces from Kingsland Point Park and now Sleepy Hollow Common, and then upland to the Rockefeller Preserve and the cemetery and so many Hudson, historic Hudson, the kind of cultural and ecological riches upland, and then also the riverfronts. So Brett is going to walk through this, but I really thank you all for the opportunity, and it's just a fantastic spot, and we really look forward to taking this to completion.
Great introduction, Margie. This is quite a wonderful place, and it's connected with the Common and some of those other parks. It's one of the larger public open spaces in the river towns and in this neighborhood. It's pretty fantastic. And this particular slide is Mark Scaglione taking us in from the boat club from the Hudson River, going under the train bridge and getting in on this tributary to the Hudson River. And I've lived here my entire life from Dobbs Ferry and Hastings, where I grew up, and I'd never done this before. It was really exciting. And this is an experience we hope everyone can have. As we're saying, DeVries Park is right here north of the Sleepy Hollow Common project in the edge and adjacent to Kinglands Park. And it sits on the northern side of Sleepy Hollow, just below all the historic Hudson Valley and the Rockefeller Estate. And it's quite a wonderful spot. And what you're going to see over the next couple of slides is the connections that this place has to everywhere else, and their pedestrian, cultural, and ecological connections. Within a mile, you have the several parks that you're going to continue to hear about tonight in the village, and access to all the shoreline. And here we are today working on really these two places in tandem. The Common has begun, and the Common is beginning to establish and move north. And DeVries Park has been here, and it's a wonderful park with 2 ball fields and amenities that are active, and it has a lot more to offer. And this border of DeVries Park that you see here is a paper border. And once this park is improved and the Common is completed, it's a much larger connected place. And if you went down today, you'd see snow, but earlier this year, here's just a couple of views from the waterfront, just south of the bridge on DeVries Avenue. And you can see some of that it's actually invasive vegetation is mostly what you're seeing. Problematic in the sense that it's the ecology that could be there and could thrive is being held back, and it affects the native species and water quality. So we'll talk to that some more as we go forward. And here's Mark taking us through again, and then traveling further north, where once you get out leave DeVries to historic Hudson Valley, it's special, and you can see the historic dam and Phillipsburg Manor. And this is the water connection. We call it the Blue Route, and essentially you'll eventually be able to come here from the north, south, or across the Hudson and come into this natural area that you'll be in there with white suckers and darters and trout and sunfish, the American eel. This is great habitat for the eel as it would like to move up above the dam into the Rockefeller Estate. And it's just a lively economic place. And it's part of this, as I said, it's the smallest tributary to the Hudson River. It's part of this larger watershed that is most of Sleepy Hollow drains into this river, and this river which comes down from Chappaqua, northern Briarcliff, starts at Echo Lake, and it actually functions down in this area. It functions to mitigate the stormwater, and this bottom diagram just shows a little bit of that, the ebb and flow of this area as it receives stormwater in different storm events, and that will continue. Those ball fields actually function to help manage floodwaters. So the schematic design of DeVries Park, this is sort of the big vision. This is what we wanted to share with you tonight. And it's taking some of the existing, there's a lot of existing structure in this park, and just creating more access to it and opening up these northern woodlands for more woodland park space, walking trails. Big part of this is along the Bacantico River, restoring there and creating access, and so that you can get to this river and be in this park and have all these different experiences. And currently we're in the process of working with state funding to kick off in the southern end of DeVries Park. And this is with the invasive species management that has started. The village has been doing a great job. They're already through the initial phases of controlling some invasive species along the shoreline. And we follow up with that by transforming this shoreline into a living shoreline and bringing in native species and improving the ecology and habitat. And then opening up this woodland, expanding upon the existing trail that's there and really making it a defined trail to open up new parkland. And then a kayak launch would be part of this initial funding phase. And you can see it would be closely followed up by the project with the Common, as Sleepy Hollow Common would complete. The northern end of the Common would really merge with the southern end of DeVries. And then DeVries, there's a whole future of projects here. We met with Matt down at the Parks Department. We'll talk a little bit later about expanding the ball fields, but really creating this north-south corridor that would connect you from the Common up to Phillips Manor, and really anchoring this park along the western edge of the park, on the eastern side of the Hudson River. And what this does is it really gives you a much larger park with these great view connections across the Bacantico River. And some of the real great views are going to be, when you're at the Common and you can actually look across the Common and over the Bacantico River, which you can't see right now because it's all overgrown. But when we're done, and you'll be able to see across, see the river, see the parkland beyond the river, and have this real sense of open, unconnected space, open connected space that, the visual corridor. And so you have these great views now that you can see across from the park all the way up to Phillipsburg Manor. And we don't bring in these new views from the Common up into the river, and then along these trails and view spots throughout the park. And as you said, connections is a big part of this. All these projects, the ultimate vision is to bring over a mile of new pathways throughout this park and create all these connections north, south to Sleepy Hollow Common, into the Catherine Walker Davis Center, across, there's talk about restoring that bridge over the train and getting to the river walks and connecting north to the Phillips train area. And this is a very similar diagram, just showing some different modes of transportation through the park: pedestrian, bike, vehicular, and the Horseman's Trail, which would run through and be really reestablished in DeVries Park. It can be hard to find currently. There's a number of small scale interventions that can really begin right away. And we've talked about engaging local artists and, bringing more access to wildlife and creating more of a safer and restored forest in the northern part of this park. and bringing in some signs and wayfinding signage, and of course getting people involved in this park. So really volunteer science, community engagement. Really, there's a lot that's going on in the world, and really once we get out of COVID, we really want to get everyone back outside, and this is just a big public space and a real gem here in the village of Sleepy Hollow. You know, it's different landscapes, different really amazing landscape types that all merge around the Pocantico River. You know, the common is going to have this huge field open in a big open space, and we're envisioning a boardwalk that anchors it. And then you can move through these parks and connect and get onto all sides, the sports fields or in the woodlands, and of course from the water. The boardwalk would be one of the first moves that we'd like to get in place with the common project. And you're seeing here, this is a rendering we did for a similar project. Much smaller scale here, as you know, Sleepy Hollow is a you know, has its own character, and everything we do here we want to be in line and in scale with that. So it's really just about creating access along the shoreline. Kayak launch, just allowing people to come into that parking lot and put a granite kayak in, and this is good calm water for learning kayak and for, you know, introducing this to children. This is a great spot. The overlook it's already there. This is a high point that really looks back on the common and would look back on DeVries Park. Right now, there's a lot of mature oak and hickory in there, and it's just a matter of maintaining that forest and getting some trails in there, and it's just a great place to be. And at the heart of all this is creating habitat and restoring the river, and that's what the living shoreline is. And this is happening throughout the Hudson River at this point. These photos from Yonkers down south and from Havistraw across the water, and these were sponsored by the Hudson River Sustainable Shorelines Program, which is a part of the DEC projects. And what living shorelines do is they preserve and restore natural habitat for terrestrial and aquatic species. They protect and maintain water quality. It provides an aesthetically pleasing and accessible public open space. It provides ecosystem services, you know, all the benefits that you get from carbon cycling and fresh air, and that's all for the public. This when you hear habitat and ecology, it's equal on public health and what it provides for people and for opportunity to experience this in this region. And this would be resilient and sustainable. So we're really creating a living system that restores the shoreline and is part of that long-term vision. You've already started working on that long-term vision as you started to address the invasive species. You have a lot of invasive species along this river corridor, and the village is currently engaged with Trillium at targeting Phragmites, European alder, and porcelain berry. And these are some of the species, the native species that we're looking to reestablish along the shoreline and within DeVries Park, to both create a park experience, but also to provide the habitat and native flora that you would find and support the native fauna. Also wildflowers and grasses and sedges and rushes. For season interest, you know, these flower throughout the summer, but also in the winter, the stems and the tips and the seedlings are wonderful. And, you know, there could be even a larger future of, you know, community members. You can actually go out and collect seed, and you could bring milkweed seed back to your home and grow it. And that's something that is big with a lot of native pollination going on. And the materials, we really are saying, you know, it's a smaller scale and keeping it in character with the village. And, you know, Sleepy Hollow has its own character. So this is really a small scale park, and working with wood and crushed stone to keep that character. We talked to Matt about you know, what would help this park as far as parks and recreation, and he clearly identified that if we could expand the ball field to 300 feet, that would open up a lot of revenue activities and and sports activities for the village, for the village, and also for, you know, people who use this field, particularly for the sports. The current field size limits the activity, and there is a comfort station and concession that is existing in this corner that actually anchors what would be the anchor to both these park, the Common and the DeVries, when they're connected. This is the budget that was submitted for the DASNY funding, which is the first part of the graph, one of the earlier slides that we showed. And a couple of views of what the connection is going north from DeVries. Currently, again, it's very overgrown, but in the future, we'd like to open up this woodland. There's lots of viewpoints and high points, and then some lowlands and a ravine. It's great aquatic communities and ecology. Again, we need to do some work on the invasive species and bring in the ecology and bringing in the native species that will be the future of DeVries Park. And this transformation and this kind of work usually takes about a decade. This is an exploration of how to cross over it from the Phillips Manor train station, and you know, what are our simplest connections, maybe a future bridge. We did meet with Historic Hudson Valley. They were quite wonderful to talk to us, and we looked at possibilities of connecting the Horseman's Trail in the future. And but certainly the Horseman's Trail will anchor through DeVries and could possibly loop around it and come back up to the old Reformed church. Just a snapshot of this park. You know, it's I think Margie describes it best as just multiple types of ecology and parkland that all come together around the Cantico River. So it's really something special, and this project and the future projects really aim to open it up and make it a healthy living system, and create access for everyone, that you can come here and do multiple activities with your families and friends. You can spend a day in DeVries Park and then paddle out to the Hudson, or go over to Catherine Davis, or walk to the Riverwalk, or go back into Sleepy Hollow and, you know, have dinner at a restaurant. So it's been wonderful to study, and we hope to move forward and to put some of these pieces into place. So thank you.
Right. Brett, could you go back to the aerial view, please? And does anyone, hi, it's Charles. Well, there's a lot to cover. Does anyone have questions for clarification?
One thing I think that clarification that's probably good for everybody is to look at this as a phased project. So some of the things we will be, as Brad was saying, are already underway. Going after the invasives. But even that is a phased project. That's a 3-year project to remove those, and then the ongoing maintenance after that. So the idea here is, hey, here's what we can do with this to make it more parts of the park accessible and open them up again. And there'll be a phase 1 and a phase 2, and perhaps a phase 3 as we go through this.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to say I personally love what you've done here. I think the vision is great, and seeing the glimpses of what it can be is very exciting. I think it's a difference maker for us. So,
and I have to say, being on the public space committee as well, the fact that this project opens up accessibility to the public pretty much right in the beginning with the first phase, with the kayak launch and, you know, clearing of the trails and, you know, viewpoints. I think it's a great plan, and I like how it's staged so people have access right away.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like an amazing project. I'm really excited to actually see it come to fruition. I have a question about what you think the timeline is for funding for the project.
Well, it's Charles. I'll speak to that. I mean, you've got three grants which are funding the shoreline work and the all of the planning, and so that could happen this year.
Great.
And as Brett points out, and as you probably know already, landscape restoration is about weeding and nurturing, and especially because we're tackling these invasive species. And the one of the grants is with Trillium, who's already doing the invasive species control at Historic Hudson Valley, and they have Anthony's been managing a project to bring them over across the bottom of the common, and I imagine they'll be engaged in the restoration of the rest of it because it's necessary to just have. You have to pay attention to what after you remove the invasive, what maybe some good things are going to come up, and one of Margie and Brett's strengths is just the willingness to make the most of what you've got here. And I will also say that this will be the first time people have had access to that shoreline on the common, because right now it's, as Brett points out, it's totally overgrown, and this will be the first phase of our work on the common.
Yeah.
And so as part of this work, you're going to get rough grading on that section of the common with the soil that's removed from the surcharge from the DPW. And, it will just follow from there, the grading plan for the rest of the common. And then the DPW buildings. And then depending on the funding, cover and landscape for the common, and then athletic fields. And the nice thing is that it's all coordinated. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And I want to jump on that too, Rochelle. Just if you think about some of the timing of this, there was a brief glimpse of a repositioned baseball field, the larger baseball field, and a mention of Matt saying, "Hey, if we could go 300 feet, there's some other opportunities there." Both the older folks leagues, I don't mean like me, I mean people who can actually play, but not kids. They regularly hit the ball out of the park now. That's why we have the screen up, because the kids' playground is right next to that. And even when the screen there, the ball still flies out of there sometime with some of the adult players. And there's a potential to do two things. One is maybe realign the field, the direction of the field, so the balls are not, or it's less likely that they actually end up in the playground without having to put up our own version of the Green Monster there. But that could, so it would help us there. It would give us an asset that I know Matt would dearly love to have. But it brings us some other issues. We have lights. Would the lights have to be repositioned? And if so, how many of them, and how much is that going to cost? And, so there's some things like that that still need to be explored. I think that the fact that the design actually looks at that and it says, well, there's a way that you could accomplish that is really important to us. So that's not something that's going to happen immediately, but it would be really exciting if we could do it, to have that asset here.
Well, going to 300 feet at DeVries is a big deal because as of right now, it's purely a Little League field and an adult softball field because it can't accommodate 90-foot bases, which is regulation for high school and for in some cases middle school. So that makes it a much bigger asset to the baseball community in the Tarrytowns and Sleepy Hollow because we do have a shortage of fields. And this would be a major upgrade in what we can do for the kids who are playing baseball in the community.
So I think, Glenn, that's absolutely true. And this is not funded in this phase, but this would be the basis of your next request to your elected officials. And it gives credibility to your request. And then we would just, if the village decided this was a priority and your elected officials funded that, then we would not only look at that, but we would look at the connection to the common and to the revitalization of that comfort station as part of that project.
Yeah.
I just want to add one, go back to just the question about the timeline for the ecological restoration and that side. And just these restorations they take time. Invasive species is usually 3 years to a decade to get invasive species under control, depending on the means and the methods. And then establishing the new vegetation is something that's best done in phases as you observe what, which part of the native community has responded well to, once you take out that Phragmites, there's a rich native seed bank that's hidden underneath there, and that will come through. So you watch and you see what's coming, and then you also watch for the Phragmites to return, and you stay on it, and then you introduce species where you can. And there's methods to stabilize the shoreline, and these are the methods that we'd be using. I may have not mentioned, and I should have, is that all the shoreline is under New York State Department of Environmental Conservation jurisdiction. So there is an extensive review and permitting that's involved as part of this project.
Okay.
I will just say that you may probably already know that Margie's office is also working on the island on Broadway. And so that means that, the project, potentially will affect the character of this whole precinct and the trailhead for the trail through the church up to the, through the cemetery.
Yeah, and Brett, can you just go back to that aerial for a second? I mean, the actual plan. Because two things I want to say. One is that, we've just found that the more incremental approach, sort of organic approach to parks where there are, a lot of existing resources is a much more sane and economical way of approaching projects. So this phasing is actually beneficial, because quite often if you were to do this all as kind of like, one phase, you might actually do more work than you have to. And the other thing is, just because some things you'll find, oh, well, in fact, people are actually walking down to the river here, and you don't need to do a lot of work there as people start to return to the river. The invasives definitely are the first thing to tackle, but the sort of slower, more organic incremental process we find is actually quite often better. But the other thing I just wanted to point out, I think this has been sort of inferred in this, is that this is, and actually, Brad, if you go back to the plan, there are 3 different parcels of this. One is Sleepy Hollow Common, and then there's DeVries Park, and then there's the whole kind of woodland on the north. And if you look at this is, I think that if the village could kind of reconceive of this as one park with an identity that's about the river, you'd be able to integrate a lot more of the disparate parts of it. Eventually the whole northern forest, which is just incredible, the ravine up at the north. I know that engaging the community, the neighborhood, if it really were seen as a park that extends all the way down to the bottom of Sleepy Hollow Common, I think that people could be really invested in the whole and in kind of sharing resources and not looking at it as 3 different parcels. So that's just sort of my pitch to kind of rebrand it a little bit as one park that really is about the river.
Margie, it's nice to finally meet you and see you. Brett, I know Charles for a little while now. I consider Charles a friend. I'm so excited about this. This is more exciting than the Super Bowl I watched the other night. I'm really, and watching the presentation, I was looking at it as one space now, as you're saying, Margie, connecting it with the Common, DeVries, and the Northern Woodland. But my vision, and I know the board is totally on with this, is connecting north, to the Writers Center, to the the little river walk we did on Riverside Drive, connecting it to Sleepy Hollow Manor and into Rockwood Hall. So these are all really, really wonderful things. But, you guys have taken a piece of marble and you're creating a Michelangelo type David here. I love it. It's so exciting. And it's probably the most exciting thing I've seen in the last year, honestly. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I really want to reinforce what you're saying, because the Riverside Park, we've really been inspired by your treatment of that park, which is really beautiful and really economical. And that kind of set a baseline for us in not reinventing the wheel, trying to use things that you've already done here that you've done really, really well. I've been very impressed by that park, summer, winter. And so there's the connection north, but there's also the connection to the east. I mean, the fact that you can walk from here all the way to the cemetery and to the Rockefeller Preserve, it's just a huge network that I think is kind of unparalleled in this, lower Hudson. So definitely we should start representing that in these presentations, the northern connections and the western connections, a little more diagrammatically, so that we can really gather support for those larger vision to connect this to a larger scale.
It's truly special. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I have to thank Matt, Denise's son, for taking us on this kayak.
Mark. Mark.
Matt.
Matt's with the Parks Department. Matt also met with us, and thank you, Matt.
Yeah. But we are kayakers, and I've been kayaking here for the last 4 years since I've been living in Tarrytown, now Sleepy Hollow, and I had no idea that this was here. And it's I really miss, the Hudson is a great experience for kayaking, but it's basically an urban shoreline. It's riprap, and you don't get that feeling of habitat nearly as much. It's also kind of, the forces are really huge. So the idea, and I go up to the Croton, to go in the Croton River, which is also a little more urban than this. This is really special. You have a lot more wildlife here than you have in either of those, because of basically how untouched it's been. It's been just let go for so long. So way less built.
Well, any other questions or comments for Margie or Brett?
I just want to say thank you guys for all the work that you put into this. I mean, it's a real diamond in the rough. I mean, obviously I live right behind it, or right in front of it, however, which way you look at it. And it's, it's just wasted space right now. And there's such potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing the design and the implementation of this plan. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Brett, thank you.
Great. Well, thanks everybody.
So that everyone knows, the next steps then we'll be moving into some construction documents.
Okay, great.
Right. Okay. Well, everybody enjoy your evening. Thank you so much for spending this time.
You too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Signing off.
Yes, good night. Only to Margie and Brett, not to everybody else. Okay. That's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. Next up on our agenda is we have a warrant that was distributed earlier by the treasurer. For the record, the amount of the warrant is $304,095.04. Sarah DiGiacomo pointed out that the biggest part of it is a liability insurance payment, our fourth installment on that of just over $90,000. If there's any questions on the warrant, please direct them to Sarah.
Move to approve the warrant.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye or indicate aye.
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 The ayes have it. I believe that's a 6-0 vote and the warrant is approved.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Go pay the bills.
Mhm.
Um, Next up, we've got 4 sets of minutes that were also distributed earlier. So we'll begin with the minutes of January 5th of this year. Any changes, edits, amendments to those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2021.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? There's none. The minutes are approved. The minutes of January 19th of 2021. Any changes, amendments to those?
Move to approve the minutes of January 21st. Actually, the 19th.
January 19th.
Yes, 19th.
Seconded.
Did.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate.
Aye.
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 Opposed or abstentions? The minutes are approved. We have the minutes of January 26th. Any changes there?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded.
Okay, and that's a motion to approve the minutes of the 26th, correct, John?
Yes.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? The minutes are approved 6-0. And finally, the minutes of February 2nd of 2021.
Motion to approve the minutes of February 2nd.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions?
I'm going to abstain. I believe I was absent from that meeting.
Okay.
Abstain.
And so trustee, please have the next set of minutes. Indicate that trustee Scaglione and trustee Levy abstained and the other 4 members who were present voted to approve the minutes. So the minutes are approved. Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of announcements to make. Already did the best one at the top of the meeting. Just a reminder to folks that next weekend includes Monday President's Day, and village offices and DPW will be closed on Monday. So any garbage routes that are set for Monday will be moved to Tuesday, as is our normal practice. So Monday will be closed. Anything that you need will get picked up on Tuesday. And also reminder that February 16th is a reminder to the board and to residents, but property owners, is that February 16th is Tax Grievance Day. So if you're going to file a grievance, you need to file it before 8 p.m. that day. If you have any questions at all, you can reach out to the village assessor at the email address is assessor@sleepyhollowny.org. So assessor@sleepyhollowny.org. And just a reminder to the board that we need to be in session for tax grievance day for 4 hours. So from 4 to 8 that day, we'll need to maintain a quorum. So just keep that in mind as you look at your schedules for that day. And unfortunately, It will be a Zoom session, so no pizza and soda in the boardroom. Um, it's just an old custom, and no, we're not going to send it to everybody's home either. So please let me know what parts of that meeting you can make. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to reports, and our own Matt Arone is going to talk to us about ball. No, he's not going to talk to us about the ball field, but
I can
Matt,
if you want. If you want me to, I can.
it sounds really cool to be able to do that, I have to say. But for the sake of the non-baseball people, continue the rest of your report. Okay,
Will
please.
do. Good evening, everybody. Recreation report for February. Since the last meeting, we're still kind of limited in some of the events we're running right now, but we have some fun ideas for the Valentine's Day week for the kids. We have a candy guessing contest, which is up online, which we're having great response with. And we also have a Secret Admirers Valentine delivery. That's all this week before Valentine's Day, which obviously is on Sunday. And also currently we open registration for renewals for the kayak rack slips at Horan's Landing. And we've already had 7 members renew and make a payment. So that's looking to fill up again. It's $225 for the season, and new spots will only be available after our returning permit holders have a chance to renew their spots. So we're looking forward to another good season with the kayak racks. Some upcoming events. We're partnering with the state's Parks and Recreation Department in a trail walk program along the Old Croton Aqueduct. These walks will be held the first and last Thursdays of each month in January through May. 2 of the hikes will actually start right here in Sleepy Hollow, so it'll be very convenient, and those are 10 a.m. starts. We've started scheduling some of our spring programs already, and we already have some kids registered for our T-ball programs, our soccer clinics, and a multi-sports camp for the kids the week they're off from school in March. So we already have some registrations. That's a good sign that families are signing up for some spring programs already. As far as our senior citizens, most of our senior citizen activities are still on hiatus. However, we do have our exercise classes on Monday and Wednesday mornings with small numbers of participants. We walk on Fridays outdoors, weather permitting, and we have a senior yoga class on Thursdays instructed by the gym guys at 9 a.m. That's also inside with small number of people. Our lunch meal delivery programs is still going on. It's important to mention to everybody here that the Kendall on Hudson, who prepares our meals for the seniors, has kindly not invoiced us periodically through the last year. A few surprise invoices where they didn't charge us as a donation and a gift to our seniors during these hard times. So that was very nice of them, and I should have mentioned that earlier, but it's very nice that they did that, gave the village a little break. So any of the seniors that do need any help with grocery shopping during the week, we're there for them. We can give them rides to the store. As far as our after school program, it's still ongoing with those smaller numbers of participants this year. Thankfully, we've had a good January and February so far with no COVID issues, no illnesses. Some parks items. Finally, since last month, I did make some progress with the propane company to connect the tank to the heating units at the platform tennis courts since our last meeting. It would have been nice if we had those up with the snowstorm, but actually that snowstorm the other day was too big to even the heaters wouldn't have taken care of that storm. But I was finally able to get the rep back on site from New England Propane. I actually was on the phone with him this morning. He said the DPW did a great job digging the required trenches. Right now we're removing some of the excess rocks and bricks from the area as they can't be there when we lay the piping underground and cover them up. Due to the area being a flood zone, the propane tank will have to be buried underground and secured to a concrete slab to keep it secure in case of any weather-related issues. This is different than our original plan, which was going to be keeping a smaller tank above ground. And it's one of the reasons why there's been a little bit of delay in this project. Being a flood zone has been an issue. I recently met with our building department and our DPW department regarding this, and we're working on, once we get a little snow off the ground, we'll dig that trench and we'll have that propane tank in there. So that's been a little bit of a thorn in our side, but we're making progress, thankfully, since last meeting. I'm working with a company called Playground Medic on the new rubberized surface at Barnhard Park spray pad. And he has provided me with numerous options to purchase spray equipment to replace the old and broken pieces at the park. These are all part of a previously approved capital project from last year. So we're going to, once again, work on that this spring and hopefully have some updated features for this summer. Some miscellaneous items. We have had 18 individuals and family register for platform tennis memberships for this year. We have a small membership fee of $10 for an individual and $15 for a family, which has been allowing people to reserve a court time for the platform tennis or pickleball courts. Because of the coronavirus and the pandemic, the platform tennis courts, as you know, have been busier than ever, and we've had a great amount of people. And it got so busy that we had to put together a reserve system for that, and it's been going very well. And so far, it's being well received. And as a matter of fact, I got a call from Tarrytown today, who heard how well it was going, and they also want to do something similar for their courts over there. So that's good news. That means the word is spreading out there that we're doing a good job with that. The new SUV for the recreation department, which is replacing the old Meals on Wheels delivery truck, arrived beginning of the month, and we're preparing it with the DMV to go out on the road soon. We have received some grant money from Westchester County Youth Bureau and Kendall on Hudson and Walmart. This funding has been used or will be used for our youth or our senior citizen programs. And I'd like to thank our rec supervisor, Robin Pell, for applying for some of these smaller grants. Just a reminder, since we're discouraging people from coming down to the rec offices at this time, residents should create a online registration account through Community Pass. So any of our programs that we've discussed, even our kayak racks, you can register for our programs online. So that's our Community Pass. You go in there and register under the Village of Sleepy Hollow. And finally, just a reminder, the senior citizen bus goes out shopping to the grocery store each Wednesday morning. So if there's any senior citizens out there that need transportation to get groceries or any other items, please give us a call Monday or Tuesday at 366-5109 so we can put you on the list and we can give you a ride to the grocery store so you can get your groceries. That's it for the report. If anybody has any questions or comments, be more than happy to help.
I just have an additional thing to pile on you, Matt. And that is, folks will remember that the county executive, George Latimer, came to a recent meeting and gave us an update on some of the efforts underway to combat the pandemic. And one of the things that he mentioned was an effort that the county hopes to undertake. I didn't hear it as a promise, but something that county hopes to undertake, and that is being able to deliver vaccines to homebound folks. So to me, I think obviously the Meals on Wheels folks, that's an obvious starting place. And so I would ask Matt, if you can start putting together your list of folks that you think would fall into that category.
It definitely helps to have that information ahead of time and to have it prominently displayed on the website. As I've previously requested for board meetings, I also ask that you add instructions on how to access captioning and live interpretation that is automatically available and does not need to be requested to make sure that the meeting is accessible to all residents. I also don't believe I've seen an email announcement yet go out to the village in English and Spanish about this upcoming meeting. So that would be helpful for folks who don't check the website regularly to know that this is happening. In addition, I'd also ask that you share a complete schedule after this Thursday's meeting so folks who have other evening commitments can plan accordingly. I'd also like to thank Deanna Loha for her ideas at the Tarrytown Police Reform Town Hall a couple of weeks back, and I look forward to seeing the village incorporate her ideas on access into our process as well. So I'd now like to share 3 hopes and questions that I have for Sleepy Hollow's process. So the first question is, what is the village's plan to ensure that this is a transparent process? According to page 113 of the Reform and Reinvention Handbook, I quote, "The governor's executive order specifically requires an inclusive, open, and transparent process." This is also consistent with the vision statement laid out in our comprehensive plan, which says that the village aims to engage the entire community. I'm a bit confused with what I've seen from the village to date. I personally struggle to find out information about this process and how to get involved. In addition, at the January 19th work session, the mayor stated that additional members may be added to the committee. However, a village resident who wrote in soon after was told that there was no more room. For context, the village has not shared any criteria for inclusion or any limits on committee size. I understand that there will be public forums and the logistics of managing large discussions, but it is important to make sure that access to the space where the agenda for the entire process is being set is created in a fair way that engenders trust in the process. And so I ask that first, any residents who have written in expressing interest in joining the committee until this point be appointed today. And second, I'd also like to better understand how current members were appointed to the department is reducing fear and ensuring a safe environment. I also ask that the village center our community members' actual safety concerns throughout this process. For example, Tarrytown's village survey included a question about what the actual safety concerns of the residents were, and half of all residents stated traffic and speeding. I'd be curious to find out what are the actual safety concerns of community members here in Sleepy Hollow, and what are the proven ways to prevent and address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Giaccio, next up.
Again, they're under Paul McCarthy, so they have to introduce themselves.
Is that me, Ann White?
That's you. Yep.
Okay. I actually came on this evening to see the DeVries park presentation. I'd seen it before, and I was so inspired by it. It just, it is such a tremendous project to connect the village. It deals with environmental issues. It deals with the issues that affect Matt's programming. It deals with the invasive species and making that park into it becomes kind of like the center of a hub, and you can, once it's done, you'll be able to go anywhere in the village and over across. Hopefully, if we can get the bridge reconstructed over the railroad, which I know is an issue, it will connect people directly to the Hudson River and to the Catherine Davis Center and so forth. So I just want to express my enormous enthusiasm for that, and also ask whether at what point that can be publicized more to the public. Is it possible to put a link on the website to a maybe shortened presentation about it and what the ideas are and the plans? I don't know when the time would be to do that, but I'd like to see more than your vast audience for the board meeting be able to have access to that. Thanks so much. And thanks for all the work you do.
Thank you. Mr. Giaccio, anyone else join in?
No more comments.
Okay, I'll remind everyone that we have another opportunity to address the board towards the end of our meeting. So if anyone does want to weigh in, that's your opportunity will be then. We're going to move on to resolutions. Could someone take the first one, please?
I'll take it. Resolution of the mayor and the board of trustees of the village of Sleepy Hollow to approve art camp. Whereas a request has been made by Anna Mayor on behalf of the Tarrytown School District to hold an arts camp at Kingsland Point Park. And whereas the art camp will run for 3 consecutive weeks, starting on July 12th, 2021 and ending July 30th, 2021. And whereas the recreation superintendent has met with Ms. Mayor and the following terms have been agreed upon. The camp will not use the athletic field area. A donation will be used to pay the rental fee. Insurance will be provided. COVID-19 protocols will be adhered to. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves a 3-week art camp to be held at Kingsland Point Park from July 12th, 2021 to July 30th, 2021, subject to the terms set by the Recreation Department. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. That looked like everyone, so the resolution is approved. Next up, less exciting, but the change orders, the Cortlandt Street sewer project.
Resolution of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing change orders 1 through 3 for the Cortlandt Street Sewer Project. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow has entered into a construction contract with Jockin Development for the Cortlandt Street Sewer Project, and whereas the construction contract for this work now requires approval of change orders to include additional construction costs as detailed in the attached change orders 1 through 3. And whereas Han Engineering, the village's consulting engineer for this project, has recommended that these change orders be approved, and whereas the cost of these change orders totals $49,980.38. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees herein authorizes the administrator to execute change orders 1 through 3 as attached, and be it further resolved that the village treasurer will adjust the project budget to reflect an increase of $49,980.38. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Again, that's 6-0. The resolution's approved. Someone take the next one on the IMA
I
with the
can do that.
county.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing execution of an IMA between the Village of Sleepy Hollow and the County of Westchester for Positive Youth Development Program. Whereas the Village Board is desirous of entering into an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County to participate in the county's Positive Youth Development Program. And now therefore be it resolved that the mayor is herein authorized to execute the attached intermunicipal agreement with the County of Westchester to participate in the county's Positive Youth Development Program, subject to the approval by the village attorney. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
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 Again, that's 6-0. Maintenance agreement regarding equipment in our water departments.
I'll
Next up.
take that. Resolution of the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow to approve contract for water department. Whereas the Sleepy Hollow Board of Trustees is desirous of entering into an annual contract to maintain the water department's Catholic protection system. And whereas that a draft contract has been received by Corpro to provide this service. And whereas the Department of Public Works Superintendent has recommended entering into this contract. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor to sign the attached contract with Corpro to maintain the water department's cathodic protection system at a cost of $1,020 per year, subject to the approval by the village attorney. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
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 And I believe that was 6-0 as well. We have some budget transfers that the treasurer would like us to make, to approve. So we have some resolutions on those. And as was indicated earlier by the treasurer, these would be moving money from our contingency in the budget to cover wage increases that were part of the recently adopted Teamster contract renewal, and also to cover the LoSAP program for our volunteer firefighters and ambulance corps members. If there are any questions, please direct them to the treasurer, and if not, if someone could read the resolutions.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing budget transfers. Be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizes the village treasurer to complete the attached budget transfers. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Council, do we have to provide more detail?
You do not, but I would provide the gross amount that was transferred.
Ms. DiGiacomo?
Okay, obviously the net effect is zero because it's going from various accounts to various accounts. So,
and the total amount to be transferred is
$502,195.90 is debited and also credited.
Mr. Smith?
That's fine.
Okay. The resolution was moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say or indicate aye.
Aye.
That I believe was, yeah, 6-0. Thank you.
Thank
And the
you.
resolution is approved. We also have some tax certiorari settlements that we should be approving. Can someone, and we can refer to Mr. Smith if there's any questions on those. If somebody could read the resolutions, please.
I just want to confirm there's 4 of them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll read the first one. Resolution approving settlement of action by 358 North Broadway LLC for property located at 358 North Broadway, Sleepy Hollow, New York. Whereas proceedings were commenced in New York State Supreme Court, Westchester County, to challenge the tax assessment for property located at 358 North Broadway by owner 358 North Broadway LLC. And whereas the village and the property owner have reached a mutually agreeable resolution for the aforementioned pending proceedings filed under index numbers 56249/12, 55910/13, 56869/14, 56982/15, and 55568/16. And whereas it has been recommended to the Board of Trustees by its assessor and attorney to resolve this litigation. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney to execute a consent judgment in substantially the form as attached to these resolutions, settling the claims in all respects with assessed values for the 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016 tax years as set forth in the assessed value reduced to columns on the schedules at the end of these resolutions. And be it further resolved that refunds for 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016 tax years are authorized in the amounts set forth in the anticipated refund columns on the schedules at the end of these resolutions, subject to adjustment by an increase of not more than 5% or a reduction in any amount upon final calculation after entry of a consent judgment implementing the settlement. Clinton, do you want me to read each one of these line items?
No, you can just read the anticipated refund column.
For each year. Okay, so for 2012, the anticipated refund is 0, 2013, 0, 2014, $709.80, 2015, $2,649.24. 2016 was $1,592.91. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say or indicate aye.
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 And that is 6-0 as well. The resolution's approved. Someone take the second resolution?
I can do it. Second resolution approving settlement of action by Amenta Development Company for property located at 145 North Broadway, Sleepy Hollow, New York. Whereas proceedings were commenced in New York State Supreme Court, Westchester County, to challenge the tax assessment for property located at 145 North Broadway by owner Amenta Development Corporation. And whereas the village and the property owner reached a mutually agreeable resolution for the aforementioned pending proceedings filed under index numbers 9327/11, 56198/12, 55914/13, 56873/14, 56983/15, 55566/16, 55714/17, and 55608/18. And whereas because of a delay in approving the settlement, 2019 taxes came due, and the property owner challenged these assessments in a proceeding filed under index number 56090/19. And whereas it has been recommended to the Board of Trustees by its assessor and attorney to resolve this litigation. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney to execute a consent judgment in substantially the form as attached to these resolutions, settling the claims in all respects with assessed values for the 2019 tax year as set forth in the assessed value reduced to columns on the schedules at the end of these resolutions. And be it further resolved that a refund for the 2019 tax year is authorized in the amount set forth in the anticipated refund columns on the schedules at the end of these resolutions, subject to adjustment by an increase of not more than 5% or a reduction in any amount upon final calculation after entry of a consent judgment implementing the settlement. So for tax year 2019, the anticipated refund is $7,042.68. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say or indicate aye.
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 And I believe that was 6-0 as well. Thank you. Move on to the next one. If someone could read that, please.
I'm looking from the third one. So, or they're not all together as I'm seeing it on my side. So,
I mean, I can read it for 45 Beekman and 47 and 49, I guess. Resolution approving settlement of action by Mahopac Bank for a property located at 45 Beekman Avenue, 47 Beekman Avenue, and 49 Beekman Avenue, Sleepy Hollow, New York. Whereas proceedings were commenced in New York State Supreme Court, Westchester County, to challenge the tax assessments for property located at 45 Beekman Avenue, 47 Beekman Avenue, 49 Beekman Avenue by owner Mahopac Bank. And whereas the village and the property owner's attorney have reached a mutually agreeable resolution for the aforementioned pending proceedings filed under index numbers 55678 14, 55729/15, 55129/16, 56073/17, 56055/18, 56659/19, and 54692/20. And whereas it has been recommended to the Board of Trustees by its assessor and attorney to resolve this litigation, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney to execute a consent judgment in substantially the form as attached to these resolutions, settling the claims in all respects with assessed values for the 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 tax years as set forth in the assessed value reduced to column on the schedule at the end of these resolutions. And be it further resolved that refunds for the 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 tax years are authorized in the amount set forth in the anticipated refund column on the schedule at the end of these resolutions, subject to adjustment by an increase of not more than 5% or a reduction of any amount upon final calculation after entry of a consent judgment implementing the settlement. So for 45 Beekman Avenue, 2014 is $0. 2015 is $1,241.19. 2016 is $1,438.85. 2017 is $1,909.86. 2018 is $1,761.66. 2019 is $2,171.67. 2020 is $2,062.86. For 47 Beekman Avenue, 2014 is $0. 2015 is $2,134.10. 2016 is $2,473.93. 2017 is $3,284. 2018 is $3,029.08. 2019 is $3,734.14. And 2020 is $3,547.83. For 49 Beekman Avenue, 2014 is $0. 2015 is $6,319.21. 2016 is $7,325.63. 2017 is $9,723.93. 2018 is $8,969.27. 2019 is $11,057.66. And 2020 is $10,504.54. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question to our council. Clinton, normally in normal times, you would brief us in an executive session. These are big numbers. Rochelle eloquently read them off, but when you add them all up, it's upwards of $80,000 for these three properties that are adjacent to one another. And I'm just wondering how this is happening, and the frequency has definitely increased in the last couple of years since I've been a trustee for 6 years. It seems like every commercial business is grieving their taxes and pretty much winning. So I just want to know what we can do to remedy this. And I mean, are these the forces of our real estate market for commercial real estate right now, where a building has actually reduced in value over 6 years in assessed value? Or, I mean, explain to us how this is working and the negotiations you're going through.
First of all, I would say that the total is just about $82,000. Because of the amount of it, the owner has agreed to accept payment over 3 tax years. So one will be this tax year, another payment will be next tax year, and another payment will be the 3rd tax year. So to some degree, the impact of the large settlement is ameliorated by being spread out over 3 years. In terms of the last question about how did we get here, yes, it is a function of the real estate market by and large. This one was on for 7 or 8 years, I believe, which is really twice as long as most properties are on the tax cert roll. Um, but it was simply the value of the buildings. They had an appraisal, we had an appraisal, and this was a fair resolution of what the value was.
So,
Part of it,
okay, I'll let you finish, Clinton. I'm sorry.
no, part of it, and maybe the biggest part of it is that it was overassessed from year one, from day one, and it just continued to grow.
So I guess the issue I have is this a systemic thing in our village? And are we missing the mark every year and having to pay for it down the line? And it's very hard for us as a board to budget when every year we seem to have a six-figure deficit for these tax revenues when we're paying back these clients. So my question is there something, and this might not be a question for you, it might be a question for Anthony and Edie McCarthy, but should we go and assess all these properties going forward and maybe have a more accurate number so we don't get surprised in the future? Or, it just seems like every one of these cases we lose. We don't challenge them.
That every one of these cases, almost every one of these cases, you do lose. But realize that there may be 50 cases pending, but I don't know how many tax parcels are in the village. So realize you do see the losers.
Well, I just feel like there's blood in the water. And
yes,
when everybody knows about this, it's pretty easy to win against Sleepy Hollow right now. And not your fault, but I'm just saying, is there something we can do? And again, this might not be a question for you. I'm just thinking out loud, but I really feel like this is a problem.
There are two things. There are two sources of the problem if you view it as a problem. One is the homestead, non-homestead tax arrangement. The other is the failure to update the tax rolls and to do it regularly.
Right.
New York State says that each municipality is to do it annually.
Mm-hmm.
Most don't.
Okay.
And I would not say that Sleepy Hollow is sitting out there getting shot at. Every community has a problem.
I understand. Okay. So I think the board should discuss this further and, obviously get your input and Edie McCarthy's input. I know you're all working hard to protect the village. It's just concerning to me that we have several of these now every year, large numbers. And it just almost seems like we should budget that into our budget, which we do, but we don't like doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah, and it is a much bigger discussion doing a research, and it's one that non-homestead, homestead, to change that, as you know, John, we're like one of the few municipalities left in the state that actually still does that. That's one thing. There's a way we can start to adjust that. It would have some. That's a conversation with the assessor. Doing the research. There's another one I know. Greenberg just went through that, and it's a process that takes a lot of time. And the people who's we end up getting the same amount of taxes through a research. If we're getting 16 million plus a year in property taxes, at the end of a research, we'd still get 16 million plus in property taxes, but one person might be paying more and somebody else might be paying less, and most people are going to end up paying somewhere around where they are right now. And you obviously, in that kind of circumstance, you hear from every single person who ends up paying more, and you hear from nobody who's paying less. And then some of the people who are paying the same about why aren't they paying less. And so it's a difficult process to go through. We haven't done it in almost 25 years now. Mid 90s, I think 94 was the last time one went into effect. And it's I know there are other municipalities that haven't done it in 50 years, 60 years, and it's just people don't want to, they don't want to touch it. But that is a really serious discussion for us, and one that you bring it up at a good time, and we're looking at a time when we have a lot more residential properties coming on to the tax rolls, and we anticipate many more after them, and potentially a lot of new commercial property coming on as well, including a change in the property that's the subject of this resolution right now, with the changes that they're looking to do in that particular building. That I assume that will lead to a reassessment of that property with those residential units being added in.
And I just have one more question for Clinton. Clinton, if we decided as a board to fight this particular case on these three buildings, what would that involve? I know the cost, but what would the likelihood be of victory in court?
In this case, I can say candidly, not that good, because we had appraisals of the buildings. We had 3 appraisals, and they were, I don't want to go to the details, but they were, this settlement isn't that far off. This, and those were our appraisals. The bank had its own appraisals too.
Okay.
So I'm quite I mean, I'm not happy with these numbers.
Right.
They're a lot higher than they want, but I am quite comfortable with their accuracy.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? That's 6-0. We have one more, I believe.
Yes.
Rochelle took the last one for the team there, so somebody
I'll
else's
take it.
turn.
I'll take it. Resolution approving settlement of action by Paul Brannigan for property located at 72 Beekman Avenue, Sleepy Hollow, New York. Whereas proceedings were commenced in New York State Supreme Court, Westchester County, to challenge the tax assessment for property located at 72 Beekman Avenue by owner Paul Brannigan. And whereas the village and the property owner's attorney have reached a mutually agreeable resolution for the aforementioned pending proceedings filed under index numbers 55426-16 and 56452/17. And whereas it has been recommended to the Board of Trustees by its assessor and attorney to resolve this litigation. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney to execute a consent judgment in substantially the form as attached to these resolutions, settling the claims in all respects with assessed values for the 2016 and 2017 tax years, as set forth in the assessed value reduced to column on the schedule at the end of these resolutions. And be it further resolved that the refunds for the 2016 and 2017 tax years are authorized in the amounts set forth in the anticipated refund column on the schedule at the end of these resolutions, subject to adjustment by an increase of not more than 5% or a reduction in any amount upon final calculation after entry of a consent judgment implementing the settlement. So for 72 Beekman Avenue, tax year 2016, the anticipated refund was $173.50. And for 2017, the anticipated refund was $2,032.36. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? That was 6-0 and the resolution is approved. Move on. Is there any old business or new business? I think we had a substantial amount of new business at the beginning of our meeting with the DeVries presentation. I'll ask Ms. Bucci, do we have any communications?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to public comments. Mrs. Giacchio, do we have anybody who would like to address the board?
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. In that case, our business is complete for the evening. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye
Aye.
or wave goodbye.
Hi.
All right. Well, be well, folks. Just a final note, if I may. Our numbers of active cases are dropping rather substantially. We're down close to 100 now. And
Great.
just a few weeks ago, we were at 235. So our cases are mirroring what's happening in the metropolitan area where the numbers are really starting to go down. But it's still dangerous. So everybody, please be careful. But it's some good news to end the meeting on. But please be careful and be well. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
All right.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.